My project is to teach people with visual impairment b-boying, or as the commercial public knows as breakdance, as a means of injury prevention and to improve spatial awareness. And we partnered with the Royal Opera House in order to do this down in London. So yeah, we did an 8-week injury prevention course, and we did 2 performances at their Open Up Festival, which we were lucky enough to be top of the bill at, and we fully audio described both performances. So the process for me to get funded by Future Venture was one where I met one of the trustees on a leadership course that we were doing together, and she mentioned that there's this fund that we could apply for called Future Venture, and she would have to advocate on our behalf. So basically, I sent her a proposal, and then she advocated for me, and the rest of the trustees looked at the proposal, and then they invited me down to have a meeting with all the board of trustees. So I pretty much pitched to them my ideas, and then after that, they then gave me an offer for the project. The amount of funding that I was offered was quite significantly smaller than the amount I'd asked for. But I think in hindsight it's probably better in this iteration, and the reason I say that was because initially I wanted to do injury prevention courses throughout the country, whereas they felt that what I was doing should be funded by a lot of organisations, but what they wanted me to do was they wanted me to just focus on one injury prevention course and be able to create some promotional material that would be appealing to potential investors. So within doing that, I think if I'd have been doing lots of different injury prevention courses at the same time, I think my energy wouldn't have been so focused on getting the best material for the promotional purposes. So I think that would have been probably diluted a lot more so. So it was really, it enabled me to zoom in and focus more on what I needed to do in order to be able to generate more funding in the future. My company, we have been exploring the unlikely link between hip hop and visual impairment and how it can enhance accessibility for almost 7 years now. My company, we were working on a production where we took the audience's sight away and then we brought it back. And for example, we'd be stood in a position, they close their eyes. When they open their eyes, we'd be upside down on one hand spinning, or when they close their eyes again, open their eyes, then we'd be spinning on our heads, for example. So like a company before us had done that, but they just did like normal upright positions. So we thought we'd take it to the next level and, you know, do some b-boying or breaking. And we got such a profound response from the audience. It was like, okay, so let's really go in deep with this. But because we didn't know anything about it, we were really superficially like dancing around with our eyes closed. And my company member said to me, you do realise we can all become visually impaired at any point of our lives due to illness or injury, or just waking up the next morning not being able to see, or just by washing your face. So I think that's when it really hit home. I was like, what if I was to wake up tomorrow and I couldn't see my daughter? And I just weren't emotionally prepared for that. So I broke down in tears and I was just a mess. And I don't think any of us really think about, you know, that and how we all tread this thin line of like, you know, being disabled and not being disabled. And so it was out of fear really that kind of motivated me to really find out as much about this as I possibly could. And so through working with a group of visually impaired organisations, I found out that there's a whole bunch of unlikely links between hip hop and visual impairment. And the more I researched into it, the more unlikely links seemed to occurring, such as teaching breaking as a means of injury prevention and to improve spatial awareness. Yeah, and also the element of audio description that we do. We've reinvented audio description, utilising the skills of beatboxers and poets to give a richer soundscape to people with visual impairment, because a lot of people with visual impairment were saying that they found that the current provision of audio description was not as engaging as they would have liked it to be. So what we did was, okay, we turned to hip hop to see how can we answer this problem. So it was actually formulated as a direct response to trying to enhance accessibility for people with visual impairment in an engaging way. It was quite light touch, to be honest. Once the funding got agreed upon and the terms got agreed upon, I was offered some business advice because I was already receiving quite a lot of business support and business advice from a number of other organisations. They didn't really see a point in, giving me support on something that I already had, which is fine. So it was literally just very light touch. I think I had just a couple of emails back and forth, and then I had an interim meeting, and about 3/4 of the way through the project, and that's been about it. I was pretty much left to my own devices, and in some respects that was good because I could literally just get on with it and do what I needed to do. But I think maybe some other people may have probably benefited from a bit more support and knowing that they could have had a bit more support if need be. I think if I would have needed support, I don't know how forthcoming I would have been. Do you see what I'm saying? I think I would have probably, I still would have gone for support, but I think I would have thought twice instead of just going to get the support necessary. But I'm quite an independent kind of person, so I can just get on with things. It could be, I think with arts funding, if you're looking at Arts Council, for example, their application process is very very comprehensive, and they tell you exactly what they want. Whereas Futures Venture is a bit more open-ended, which is good because in some senses you can embellish or expand on things more so than others. But the problem is there's not a clear sense of direction for, okay, this is exactly what we need in order to approve funding. And so it took a couple of reworkings of the proposal until it got to the stage where something was finalised. Whereas with, say, a Grants for the Arts application, okay, that's submitted, that's it. And there's no, okay, going back and refining and retweaking. It's once you submit it, that's it. So in that sense, it's kind of okay, you've done the application, right, it's finished, going to get one way or another. Whereas with open-ended applications, it's a bit more stressful because they can come back and be like, oh, well, we need to hear more of this and we need to hear more of that. So you've already emotionally and psychologically prepared yourself that, okay, I'll finish that application, right, I'm just going to move on. Whereas, oh my gosh, right, okay, so now I've got to come back and add more to it. So that can be quite frustrating. Yeah, no, there's pros and cons for both. And as well, it's you have to always remember that then there comes that element of compromise then. Whereas, for example, if you're doing an Arts Council application, it's your vision, boom, and that's it. Whereas where there's this open-ended dialogue, sometimes you can get to tricky waters where actually I'm just jumping through hoops and trying to say what you want to hear, and then before you know it, the artistic project is no longer at its core what you wanted it to be. For example, I wanted it to be me doing multiple injury prevention courses, but all of a sudden I find it getting steered and shoehorned into me just doing one project, which has worked out for the best, but again, it wasn't my vision. So it's compromise, and that's the thing when you're working with funders of this nature. I would say you have to be mindful of compromising and finding a way not to compromise your artistic integrity and still being able to get across what you're wanting. So that's something to be mindful of, really. Oh, so in terms of legacy, well, we're going to be on BBC Breakfast on the television this coming Friday. So it's going to have a reach of over however many million people watch that. So that's good as part of the #DancePassion push that's happening with the BBC next week. We are going to be applying to roll this project out now nationally, and then hopefully internationally as well. Other things are we have. So we just become a registered charity. So obviously that means that we can now access other elements of funding that we couldn't before, and other investors, and we can work in some really unique ways out before where it wasn't available to us. So there is there is quite a bit of legacy that's being left by this. We wanted to deliver training courses as well, so we can upskill other artists to be able to deliver this, so it really can have a massive reach both nationally and internationally. Yeah, I would love to have ongoing relationship. Just because I don't forget my roots, and these guys have they've helped me out to be able to deliver such a a great project. So I definitely would like for there to be ongoing dialogues, and if there's any other opportunity for us to collaborate, I'd be more than happy to, really. I mean, now I know the process and then everything, it's it should be hopefully a lot easier second time around. The other thing is we've created a documentary, so we just submitted that to Sheffield Docfest, and we're going to also be hopefully submitting that to a number of other documentary festivals, both nationally and internationally. So again, our reach will be far and wide, and obviously it's all got Future Ventures logo all over there, so they'll be known far and wide for the contribution that they made to this project as well. The project was called Site-Specific Moves. So what was great about doing the Site-Specific Moves course was a number of people with vision impairment spoke about how they'd actually applied the techniques from the class into real life scenarios and situations. This one lady in particular, she was talking about how a cyclist came and crashed into her, and as she fell to the floor, she automatically knew to put her hands out and to sustain her momentum, to keep going so she wouldn't get injured. So within that, it's already been a great success, because even if one person, has been able to apply these techniques to real life situations, and it just goes to show that, b-boying or breaking is it's not just a fun pastime, it's a valuable life skill. It can be a valuable life skill to people with vision impairment. They have a stronger sense of feeling and connecting. They connect in the world to the world in a different way, a much more profound way than us do with our sight, because they're a lot of people, because we're so visually led. Things can be quite superficial, and we take things as like face value or just on the surface. Whereas I found with working with people with visual impairment, they're a lot more in touch with their feelings in terms of how they relate to the world. And I feel that, sighted people can learn a lot from people with visual impairment. Well, to be honest, non-disabled people can learn a lot from people with any kind of disability, to be honest. We view them as they're the ones that need help, but nah, I think we are.